Hello, you're listening to Ray Path Productions. I am your host, Chloe Folan, Clairvoyant. First of all, I'd like to extend a very warm hello and a very warm welcome to everybody tuning in here this evening and everyone who will be catching up with the show later. Who hasn't been able to tune in at this time for the live streaming, you're very welcome. This is Ray Path Productions on A1R Psychic Radio and Moonstruck TV. And before I take callers this evening, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the current moon phase that we're in for the Northern Hemisphere. And as I talk about the current moon phase for the Northern Hemisphere, it'll make sense why I'm bringing this up. I promise I'm going somewhere with this that people will find quite interesting. For people that know me, or maybe don't know me very well, I facilitate and I do this type of work for people in person, and I also run it in groups, and I also facilitate these meditations via Skype. They are my angelic realm healing meditations, and it's usually one meditation that's done per month that would start in March and end in October. But my angelic realm healing meditations were always run during the waning moon phase. So when I did run these publicly for groups, and it's something I might go back to next year, when this was run publicly for groups, it was always waning moon phase for healing. Because I did quite often find that when people focused on healing and worked on looking at what needs to be released for life to be healthier, whether it's in terms of finances, relationships, self-image, self-esteem, but quite often doing deeper healing work. And the waning moon phase is an excellent time for healing work, although you can heal during any moon phase. But particularly the waning moon phase is a time of reflection. It's a time of letting go. It's a time of going within and really examining one's life and where one's going and what one's thinking and doing and what's happening. It's a great time for reflection work and therefore healing work. And I quite often find that people get really good results when they work on healing something that needs to be healed rather than trying to manifest over a problem. Because what I've witnessed quite a bit, and quite a lot of people tuning in might have noticed this, that sometimes what can really bother people is they'll come across a manifestation technique or they'll want to work on manifesting. And then when they're doing that, it only seems to agitate a particular problem. And it leaves them a little bit upset and a little bit perplexed as to why the problem seems to be worse than before they started trying to manifest. So I'll explain that. Sometimes people will work on manifesting calm or peace, but then what tends to happen is it seems to nearly cause more stress or more issues to arise. And it's not that what they appeal for isn't working, but they're being shown what has to heal for there to be peace. Same way someone might, do some manifestation work around finances, and then all of a sudden they think their finances are getting worse and they're not. They're just paying more attention to, or their attention's more being brought to where the money issues are that need to be resolved. And so on and so forth. Someone that might do manifestation work around healthier relationships, they might find it starts to cause a little more aggro in a relationship that was already strained rather than fixing things. So like that, it's not that the manifestation work isn't working, but when someone tries to manifest over a complex or an issue that they currently have, it does agitate the issue or complex most of the time, rather than actually healing it. So like that, I definitely invite people who are listening or tuning in to maybe take some food for thought there. that rather than, and I know sometimes it's not as exciting, sometimes it can be very exciting to work with manifestation work, it can be very exciting to manifest, and don't get me wrong, part of, very good, well-rounded personal, development can include learning to manifest around an obstacle or manifest around an issue or to conquer a problem or surmount an issue. But I've quite often witnessed that people that take the route over investigating what needs healing and working on healing and doing some deep healing around a particular problem or issue, then once that's achieved or the ball's in motion with that, then things then manifest around them anyway, meaning then there's no need for a particular affirmation or no need to do a particular manifestation work or manifestation technique, meaning that doing some deeper healing and resolving the repeated complex or issue then causes there to be no need for an affirmation, no need for exploring different ways to manifest, because things have sorted themselves out and someone's on a smoother path anyway. And it's a very interesting way to explore manifesting. So rather than manifesting by manifesting, experiencing what can happen when you heal and then witness what happens when one is healing, because the environment does change whenever we heal a perception, or at least our perceptions of the environment do change, and things can change around us. We form different habits. So when we form different habits, we make different choices. So that alone changes the environment and situations around us as well, without us having to be forceful about that. So definitely do take that as food for thought. And coming back to the month we would be in, if I was running this for a public group, where we'd already be up to month 5 working with the throat chakra or throat energy center, and I associate that energy center with Archangel Michael. So we would currently be in the month and in the Northern Hemisphere, the waning moon phase, for working with Archangel Michael and releasing or working on releasing any complexes around self-expression, releasing things of that nature, really finding one's voice, really, working on finding one's voice, saying what one means, being clear about what one means, being able to find the words to say in any given situation, being able to verbalize more clearly what you want to say or what you mean. And don't forget as well that even though when I'm talking about expression, a lot of people just associate that with talking, everything we do is a form of expression. Actions that we take are a form of expression. Actions that we take are our thoughts in motion. Everything is a form of expression. So even though it might be taken as more working around throat expression, everything we do is an expression of something, an expression of an emotion, an expression of a thought, an expression of an idea. So people really do experience deep, deep healing working with the waning moon phase and Archangel Michael for the throat around the month of July. And like that, it's only one approach. There's many approaches to healing, but definitely people do find that of huge benefit. And it really, really helps someone go after the fact. So after the healing work's been experienced, after the healing work's been done, a little more conscious awareness coming in over in the following month. So like that, even if you're listening in from home and interested in this, during this month, have a look at how you're expressing yourself. Have a look at if you're saying what you mean. Have a look at whether you're talking kindly about yourself. Because it's amazing how even just a small inspiration can create some deep healing. So like that, for the coming month, look at how you're using your words. Have a look at whether your words are lining up with what you want, or whether your words are lining up with what you mean, whether your thoughts are mirroring your actions. It's incredible what little inspirations will drop in when you're just sitting and meditating on, am I talking authentically for myself? Do I feel like I can authentically express myself in a situation? Am I talking about myself, kindly? Because like that, sometimes the deepest change can come from just not being very hard on oneself. So like that, for the coming month, and especially if you do want to do some work with healing the way you express or working with Archangel Michael, and like that, don't be afraid to do that either. Archangel Michael, even though he's associated with protection, like I said, I associate him with the throat chakra and expression, because that would be our first line of speaking our truth. That would be our first line for cleaning up misunderstandings. So don't be afraid to connect with Archangel Michael. Take the month to deepen that relationship, and take that month to have a deeper look at how you're using your voice, whether you're using your voice authentically, whether you do what you say and say what you mean, and have a look at where you can maybe line up your actions to better express what's happening for you in life. And I believe we do have a caller. I believe we have Robin on the line. And Robin in Wyoming, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm very good, Robin. How can I help you? Do you have a question you would like to run by me for clarity?
Just basically if I'm going to find happiness.
No problem at all, Robin. Give me 2 moments, because I use the tarot as well, the tarot deck, and I will do a general spread for you just to see what's happening for you around personal happiness and see where I can provide some guidance. Give me a few moments, please.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Robin, I'm just having a look here at the spread that I've drawn. Like that, Robin, this is where it gets interesting. I'm not saying that there are things that haven't happened that would have caused unhappiness. I have the 5 of Swords card here, and that does denote, some difficulties in relationships and having to walk away from certain relationships, or experiencing similar difficulties cropping up in relationships repeatedly, and sometimes finding yourself in situations where you've really had to go, well, hang on a minute now, this isn't right for me, I need to step away from this. And sometimes, having to be clever about it, so to speak, sometimes finding yourself in some very tricky situations. So like that, there definitely is reasons here why you would be asking me that query. But by the same token, there is happiness there. I just believe that stressful past situations are hindering you from experiencing more happiness in the now. So to half answer your question, there is currently happiness there in your life. But I believe from the spread that I've drawn, and also from clairvoyantly tuning into you, that it's more what's happened in your past that's taking away from that. And I'm not saying that there aren't present difficulties, but this is telling me that this is more about the past taking away from present happiness, more than it's a massive big issue right now that's causing problems with happiness. So definitely, I do think what sometimes tends to happen, and this could also be because you do have some empathic abilities, some clairsentient abilities, there does seem to be a tendency where, and I'll explain this a bit better, where you do sometimes look before you leap. Now I'll explain that better. It's not that you're not a smart lady, and it's not that you don't understand situations that you're in. But I do think that because you are so trusting, despite what's happened in your past, that you find it very easy to leap into certain situations. And that can also set up a cycle of finding yourself in the similar situations again. So like that, with the spread that I've drawn and also what I'm seeing, for you to experience it, more of the happiness that is already around you, and for you to have more of that happiness that you want, before you go leaping in to a particular situation, whether it's just a mundane situation or a work situation or a relationship situation, meaning relationships with friends or other people, ask yourself whether this is healthy for you. Ask yourself whether this is actually your problem to deal with in the first place. And then ask yourself, is this person actually doing what they're saying? Because I do also think that partly what has inflicted itself on your happiness, and this does happen with clairsentient empathic people, where you see the potential in a situation, you see the potential in a person, and sometimes ignore what is actually going on. So I'll explain that better. For instance, having a look at one of these past friend relationships, coming back to what's also mirrored in the tarot, where you knew that this person was in strife because you'd known them for a little bit. This wasn't a new friendship. You knew they were having troubles in their own relationships with other people, and it was spilling over into money issues for them, and it was starting to seep into all areas of their life. And like that, your heart went out to them because you're a good person, but then you leapt into the situation and tried to help them more than they were helping themselves. And that's how you ended up getting burnt, so to speak. Because this is where it's very important, before you leap into someone else's issue, ask yourself, are they putting in as much effort as you're about to? Because if they are not, it will just end up being you burnt out, and also then you in aggravation with them because they're now having the same difficulties with you that they were having with others. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. It makes very much sense, and I'm going through it right now.
Yes. So like that, this is the best piece of advice I will ever be able to give you on this. And I've also heard qualified therapists and counselors give this advice. Do not make more of an effort. Don't make more of an effort than someone else is making themselves. So if you're going to try to help someone with a money issue, before you leap in and do that, ask yourself if they are putting in as much effort. Are they trying to sort out the money issue? Are they putting in proper effort to sort out the money issue? Or whatever the issue may be, I believe that you will find more happiness by going, before you get dragged into something, going, number one, is this my problem? Number two, am I seeing what is actually going on, or am I just getting tunnel vision over potential? And are they making the same effort I'm about to make helping them? And if the answer is no to all of those questions, don't do it.
Right.
And I know sometimes it can be tough for you to say no, but that is how you're going to find more happiness. You can't invite in chaos and then expect to be happy. Is that making sense?
Yes, it is.
So this is where you go. Number one, is this my problem? Number two, are they making the same effort I'm about to make? And number three, am I about to get caught up in just seeing the potential and not noticing what the reality is of what's going on? And I think you'll find yourself less burnt out and much happier when you examine a situation from that standpoint before leaping in.
Okay.
Is that making sense?
Oh, it makes very much sense because I'm going through it with my ex-boyfriend right now.
Like that, it's always good to keep a healthy relationship where possible, but despite the saying, you can't be all things to all people.
Right.
So like that, this becomes where you need to set healthy boundaries. An ex can be a friend, but they shouldn't be more than that. And you shouldn't be consistently, do you know what I mean, trying to help out financially or helping here and there, because half the reason someone can be having prolonged problems is because they are not fixing the problem properly themselves, and you're just getting dragged in.
Right.
And you cannot fix a problem that someone else isn't willing to fix themselves. You can support, you can aid, but you will find that the people that do get better are the ones that were on that track anyway. They just needed to be pointed in the right direction, but they do the rest themselves along with you, or then start to pass you out and go, right, thank you very much for that baton. That's what I needed. I'm off. This works. Thank you very much. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So like that.
He's been trying to get a hold of me. He's got a drug problem. And I told him if he didn't get off the drugs, then I was gone. And he didn't. He ended up getting very violent with me. And so I took off, and now he's trying to get a hold of me.
You stay away from that. You stay away from that 100%. And I've even heard qualified counselors say to people who are trying to be of assistance to other people in rehab, you do not make more of an effort than they are.
Okay.
I'm being serious.
It's hard, but I'm doing it. I'm shutting him down every time he tries to get a hold of me. I tell him I have nothing left for him. So I'm trying really hard, but it's hard because I was with him for 4 years.
That is difficult, but unless he helps himself, you can't. So this is where you say, I'm sorry, have you been seeing your counselor? This is something you bring up with your counselor. You know, did you contact that rehab program that you already know about? This is a conversation to have with them, not me. So you keep deflecting in the right direction, or just don't answer the phone at all, especially if someone's got anger issues that severe.
Yeah, he's paranoid schizophrenic, so he's not very easy to deal with.
No, and it isn't. And like that, this is where it gets very difficult when you're when you're in contact with somebody where there are mental health issues. But this is where you need to understand that this is where you healthily keep directing people to an appropriate counselor, to their doctor, to the rehab center or whoever's helping them. And that can be difficult as well, because there's a lot of distrust when someone has a mental illness over those areas. But that's what will help them get better. But you can't.
Right, and I'm hoping he'll get better. I'm praying.
And like that, this is also where there's the tough love approach. When you do keep healthily going, or like that, when it's not for you to deal with, then you can't deal with it. Where if you need to shut down and break contact, that's your business. That's your right, especially if you're worried over physical safety. You do have an absolute right to cut off contact completely. That's your choice. But like that, this is where the more people that are around someone like that are going, please go to the doctor. Please go to rehab. Please go to a qualified counselor. Please go to a psychotherapist. When everyone they meet says that, it will help them down that route.
Right.
But when you don't have when you haven't been given the tools to deal with those delicate situations, you can't fix somebody in that type of situation yourself. Like that, I'm not seeing long term that anything awful will happen to him. I really don't. I do believe over time he will end up getting the help that he needs.
Oh, you do?
But
he
needs to seek it. I do believe over the next couple of months, and actually, Robert, I'm very sorry. I've got my producer here saying we've only got about 90 seconds left.
Okay.
But Robin, I do believe not instantly, it's going to take a couple of months, but I do believe he will get to a point where even in his mental state, he knows that he needs to get the right help. And I do believe over the next couple of months that will happen. But you are not to put, you are not to put yourself in the position of a doctor. You are not to put yourself in the position of his psychotherapist or financial advisor. This is where you need to set some healthy boundaries.
Okay, yeah, and I have been. I don't let him talk to me.
Good. Then keep doing that. And the more you apply that to other situations, the more happiness you will find.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Robin. And if you want to connect with me in the future, please feel free to contact me through my website, www.chloefolan.com. So just my name spelled out, www.chloefolan.com. If you want to contact me again in the future, please feel free to do so.
All right, thank you so much, hon.
You're very welcome, Robin. Enjoy your happiness.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. On that note, we only have a few seconds left, so I just want to extend a big thank you to everybody who tuned in again, to everyone who supports Ray Path Productions and tuned in, and to those who will be tuning in later and catching the show after it's aired live. Thank you very much to everybody who's tuned in. And for everyone who wishes to tune in next week, I will be having a look at sun cycles this time. So if you are interested in tuning in next week, that's what I will be offering.